to be doing this for the second time today, but it's very exciting to be sharing this time with you in such a small, cozy space. It actually, at times, it makes me more excited than playing in a big concert hall. I get to see all of your faces, I get to see what you feel, and I get to share with you music or ideas that could not be shared otherwise in a big concert hall. And when I say big, I say already more than 50 people. That's already a big concert hall for the idea that I want to share with you. The music that we all love, that we all cherish, starting with Chopin, but all the music from the Renaissance until very recently, it was all designed to be performed and to be created, to be shared in a very small space. Fun fact is that Chopin played less than 20 concerts for selling tickets in his entire life. He didn't play concerts. I played more concerts in the last month than Chopin played in his entire life. That doesn't make me better, that just makes me just more quantity. But the quality is the important part. So that quality is usually achieved in a small space. That's what I love. So thanks once more for being here. And I direct myself to everyone watching at home. Thank you for being there. And today I have prepared some music by Chopin. Maybe everyone has heard of the Chopin competition. Well, it just happened. So I thought, what do people need in their lives right now? They need more Chopin. I don't think so, but I think it's a very good moment, particularly for me personally, to reflect, especially in the past 4 years, and to think about what Chopin's music means. It happens to everyone that if we repeat one word and we say that one word a million times, if we try to say it for ourselves, after only 10 to 15 times, it loses its meaning. It sounds like a weird word. We don't know what it means anymore. It starts to sound foreign, or starts to sound like something that doesn't belong to us, and we have to relearn. I think that's what happens with most music in general. We listen to it so many times, and we take it for granted. We keep listening to it. We keep practicing it. Especially pianists, we spend hours on end with this guy, and things lose meaning after some hours. But maybe it is time today. I hope I can make some people, including myself, rethink once more especially the music of Chopin means. Today's concert, today's live stream is called Warsaw meets Tokyo. Why Warsaw, apart from the obvious? I live there now. So in a sense I stopped by in other places, but in a sense I came to Tokyo from Warsaw. I stopped in Malaysia first, but somehow there is an important bridge between Warsaw and Tokyo, the capitals of Poland and Japan. The music of Chopin has made it incredibly big in Japan, and I'm still trying to understand how is that possible. Japan was open to the world just very recently, and in historical terms that's nothing. That's such a short time. So the fact that the music of Chopin has become such a phenomenon, including manga, including all sorts of particular things that are just incredible that it's happening. So it's it is something that I want to tap on, and I want to rethink once more today. During the Chopin competition, I was listening to many contestants, and I was writing some things online, and I was once more thinking about how the music of Chopin may be played, how all sorts of things that have been accumulated over the years, such as performance practices, or maybe some things that are not so positive for the music of Chopin, but have been accumulated over of the last few decades. What does that mean for the music of Chopin? We have changed a lot in the way we think about it, and we perform it, and we listen to it. Especially since everyone is listening. I also saw during the competition so many contestants, for the first time, they were listening to the music that they were gonna play on headphones, and that was very interesting to me too. That someone was listening to the music they were gonna play beforehand, played by someone else. That was something that Chopin himself could have not even imagined, for example. It is possible nowadays, but I wonder, I don't say if it's good or bad, I wonder if it's better for the practice of playing music in general, or it's not. I'm actually not sure. I am the kind of person that likes the analog way. So, analog is much better. We play a piano that hasn't changed that much for the past 100 years. It reaches peak and it stays more or less the same since then. So I like my analog feelings. I like my key being made of wood. I like the piano to change every single day. It's a new person, just like a human being. So all those things I think they are very important. And well, for the practices of the pianist, of any classical musician, or of any musician in general, I think those are very valuable objectives. Now, I present to you, of course, music of Chopin today, but maybe a couple other composers that are, of course, related to Chopin. And I start with a Polonaise. Why a Polonaise, and why this piece? It's probably the piece that most beautifully represents Poland, or the Polish people, even though when this piece was composed, Poland was not a country. Poland was a country just very recently, less than 50 years ago. They are newly made. They are a really new country. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, finally they can call a space of land in the world their home, and that's wonderful. But until that recent event, that was not possible. Chopin didn't know what Poland is. Chopin knew what the community of Polish people, what the language, what the legends that are carried mouth to mouth from down from generations. All those things are, of course, in the hearts of people, but something tangible, that was not possible. And it's quite amazing that one of the things that the Polish people can call one of the most patriotic pieces that they can call their own is the Heroic Polonaise, the Opus 53. And I want to comment a little bit about maybe performances of this piece. Because once more, I heard so many recently, also during the Chopin competition, but in general, I got newly interested, and I went on YouTube and Spotify, and I checked so many different recordings, and I found myself going to old classics. I need the old classics. Why? Many reasons why, but most of all, there is a sense of clarity of ideas, a sense of context and content behind the actual notes that some great musicians such as Rubinstein, such as Horowitz, such as Dino Lipatti, such as who else? Well, that's already 3 good ones, but Paderewski, for example, is a great recording of this Polonaise. The context, the value behind those interpretations are absolutely different than the value of the interpretations that we find nowadays in general. And I find myself drawn to those artists. Those artists don't give so much value to the actual notes themselves, but at the connection or at the value of everything within a context. And that idea that that technique is only the means to do something, that's a beautiful idea. That's why we need technique, to do something else. Just as for example, I don't know if any of you know Martin Heidegger, but he was a great philosopher from last century, and he speaks about some artist who is doing some job, whatever it is. For example, someone is carving a piece of wood, and they are using a hammer and the other tool that I don't remember now the name in English, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. He's carving his way through to make a beautiful table, whatever it is. That person has the technique inside of them. That technique has to be acquired, but to do the actual thing that they are doing, the result, the technique is the least important of the things. You don't see the technique when you see the result. And nowadays, I do see that I find myself drawn to it. I'm not criticizing generally. I find myself also in that category many times, and I want to withdraw myself from that. Technique should always be the means to achieve an end, and not the end itself. And yeah, that's the beautiful thing about music. If we try to achieve that, things take another meaning, and not only note after note, note after note. So with the Polonaise, this Polonaise, perhaps one of my favorite recordings is Paderewski's. He hits half of the right notes. Half of them are not there. He plays quite slowly too. But the grandiosity, the nobility, those adjectives that Liszt also mentioned in some of his letters to some of his friends, the grandiosity, the nobility of the Polonaise, there is virility inside of the Polonaise too. According to Liszt, I agree. I'm not the one to be against Liszt. It's completely true. Those things are part of. They are adjectives that you can give to a community. It's a piece for the common good. It's a piece for humanity. Chopin has many pieces that are for himself, or that are very personal, or that are looking at the world through his own scope. The Polonaise, particularly this piece, is one of the few pieces that I could say they are for the feeling of unity. And it's just a feeling, it's not a reality once more. There was no country for him yet. They just dreamt of it. There was the Warsaw uprising also, that he suffered from those events really, really a lot. And some of the great music that we know comes from those events in his lifetime, that he never could see his country as a whole, and his people really as a whole, finally. It came later. Maybe he's watching somewhere. Maybe he's happy now. Maybe now he's not composing anymore because he's happy. So I start with the Heroic Polonaise. Thank you so much. Now I want to connect this piece with Chopin's last words in music, which is his Polonaise-Fantasy. It's probably one of the most difficult pieces of music by Chopin to comprehend beforehand. Me, myself, until last year, the beginning of last year, I studied that piece, not practiced, but studied that piece from top to bottom, and it was one of the most difficult pieces to put through my body. There is a great word in Spanish called aprehender, which is capture something's essence and make it yours. There is not really a word that conveys the same meaning in any other language. So that process of making something your own, even though it was pre-written by someone else, that's the process that any musician that plays such music has to go through. And this is probably one of the pieces that take the longest. It also was one of the pieces that took Chopin the longest. Obviously, it was one of his last pieces ever composed, so at least that development took place in his life and in his thoughts about music, his way, his penmanship, which changed a lot from the beginning of his life until the end of his life, and you can tell the differences in style in Chopin's music. This piece is particularly special because Chopin didn't know which name to give this piece. He thought Ballade might be a good name. He already had the golden 4, the perfect number for his 2 sets of scherzos and ballades. So perhaps, we don't know, perhaps he thought that it was not a good name to give it. Also, thanks to his more improvisatory-like approach, it was less like a written poem or less like a narrative story, and more of an afterthought, perhaps. He didn't know if he should call it a Polonaise, because the Polonaise rhythm just comes twice or 3 times in the almost 15 minutes that the piece lasts. So he just gave it this double name, Polonaise-Fantasy, but he was not really sure about what was the name he wanted to give the piece. He thought about fantasy by itself too, but for some reason he chose to first and foremost name it a Polonaise. So once more the character of patriotism, the character of the land that he knew when he was a kid. He never came back, but he still loved his place, is conveyed through this piece. There is a very, very good few words by Jan Popish. He's a great musicologist in Poland, and he's a good friend. I'm lucky enough to have met him and talked with him many times. And I remember I played this piece in the church really, really close, just a few meters away from the place where Chopin's mother was born, not too far from Żelazowa Wola, where Chopin himself was born. And in this church, very beautiful church, there was a sense of loneliness in the entire city for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it was a holiday in Poland. Holidays mean really nothing is happening. There is stillness in the wind. Nothing is really happening. But there was a beautiful stillness that day. It was a Sunday. And I remember Jan Popish, when I finished the piece, he looked at me after the concert and he's like, you know what? In general, I hate pianists. And I agree with him. I hate myself too. It's okay. My great professor Jerome Rose, also one of his most famous sentences is, I hate pianists. And he is a pianist, so take it as you will. And he said this because he explained to me just after. He said, I hate pianists. Always the last chord of the Polonaise-Fantasy, it's written in the score, you can see it's really loud. It's supposed to be really loud. He writes 2 fortes, but it's a really strange setup for the piano. He writes a very soft bass and a very loud treble. And it seems like there is no balance. And he said something that through his many years of experience and his background, I think that really nails it. That's the real meaning for that last chord and probably for the entire piece, which is, he said, that's a golden chord. That's the golden ending of Chopin's life. That's the golden word. Chopin never wrote any words to be published anywhere. He didn't want anything of his words published. We know things from his letters, which of course they were private things. He didn't want anything to be published. Now we want to sack everything and take it for ourselves because we want to know everything about Chopin, but of course he meant everything to remain private. So in his really big effort to not share any words of what any of his pieces meant, it's beautiful to give it that last chord and that last of his major pieces, the name of Golden. Because I also like, there is a saying in Polish, not really a saying, but it's something very particular, which is the Golden Polish Autumn. And I have a couple of great memories. I will not take your time now with those memories. Those are for my enjoyment. but they are, those memories come from the fact that in autumn, in the great fields, in the great plains of Poland, there is a distinct color of gold that the totality of the trees in any forest really in Poland give, and that color is such a particular golden tone. It is not golden bright. There is no brightness to it. It's somewhat, I don't want to say something very easy, but somewhat sad. It's a sad color. It is not brilliant. And it's the same as this last chord and the same as in the entire piece of the Polonaise-Fantasy. There is a hopeful ending to his life, which was not so fun. He had great moments, but all in all, sickness loomed over him, many personal problems, so on and so forth. So it was especially difficult moments after his time in Mallorca and until the end of his life. He had, not the most fun in the world, and probably thanks to that is why we have this this kind of piece. Thank you so much. I want to connect actually that those two things that I was speaking about before, the birthplace of Chopin's mother, called Izbitsa Kujawska, which, by the way, in the name you can say Kujawska. It's very close. It's the same root of the word as Kujawiec or Kujawiec, which is a traditional Polish dance that is used as one of the three main Polish dances that Chopin uses in his mazurkas. The other two being the Mazur and the Oberic. And that region, almost and up until Warsaw, but not including Warsaw. It's towards the west of Warsaw, exactly where the birthplace of Chopin is, all around his birthplace and to the west. Around 100 kilometers of diameter, if you can make a circle of 100-kilometer diameter. That's the region in which all these dances, these three, are born, and where they are most beloved, actually. And it is also where Chopin was born, and where his family did their business, their life, and it's a very big, important part of Chopin's upbringing. I will connect that to the last set of mazurkas that Chopin not composed but published during his lifetime. The other mazurkas are a little bit scattered. They are together in different sets, but the last set that Chopin intended to be published as a set is the Opus 63. It's 3 distinct mazurkas, quite short, but each one features quite clearly one of the different 3 types of dances. That's quite the case in most of the sets of mazurkas of Chopin. You can see those 3 dances being used. One of them is more prominent than the other 2. He kind of mixes all of them because they are not dances to dance. The dance is just the form, or is just the language that he takes to write these pieces. The real depiction, the real point of these mazurkas is more of a small painting, a small window into the past. In our case, it's the past. In his case, it's probably the present. Of something that he saw, or something that he remembers, or something that he draws from literature. We don't really know. Most of them, we really have no idea how he came up with these pieces. But it is a very good idea to think of them as little paintings. As if you would imagine that each mazurka is, for example, you're looking inside of someone's house for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, which is what most of them last. And you see their daily endeavors, what they are doing. Sometimes it might be something routinely. Sometimes it might be something very sad. Suddenly you see a woman crying and you don't know why. Whatever is happening, maybe you see a kid with both parents playing. All these simple ideas he draws from. There is also a couple of stories of Chopin walking around in his tender, maybe 15, 16 years, and hearing a melody from a girl who is walking around, and just immediately writing that melody down and making it into one of the mazurkas. So these kind of anecdotes are what make these pieces special. And I want to tap a little bit in the romantic spirit, which is what makes Chopin so widely understood around the world. Not only Chopin, but the great romantics. That's the music that is most played by any orchestra in the world. In any hall, everywhere in the world where you go, most of the programs are always romantic period programs. Why must that be? Well, it's thanks to the ideas behind the romantic period, and they are very well embodied by this music. It is great because the music of Chopin, many others, Liszt, Schumann, Schubert, late Beethoven, all these great composers speak about something that is connects us all around the world, makes us human, which is how we see the world and our routine activities during the day, our sense of community. things like love, for example, that almost absolutely anyone on earth understands what it is. We don't have to explain it to anyone. We get a notion. When we turn our 20s, maybe we already know what it is. And all those things, such as legends, tales, that are passed down generations, also are important sources of information for all the romantics, because they are widely, everyone understands, from the person who doesn't know how to write or read, to the person that is the sage and has been reading for quite a long time. It doesn't matter. Both sides understand the same values in such legends, stories, feelings. And that is the romantic spirit. And that's why probably these composers are so widely known and beloved all around Earth. And I will read later. I had prepared a poem from Adam Mickiewicz. I will read it with another piece that fits better this poem. The poem is called Romanticism, and it opens the Polish Romantic period in 1822, when Adam Mickiewicz wrote his Ballades and Romances. 1822 is when Chopin was just 12 years old, so he was really small, and Adam Mickiewicz was a couple of decades older. 1 decade older, 1 decade and a half. So they were quite good friends during Chopin's life. Time allowing, not too much, because they didn't find themselves in the same place most of the time, but in Paris, for example, they were good friends. And that book starts the Romantic period in Poland. The idea of the ballad and of the romance in Mickiewicz is actually the idea of the poet, or the idea of the individual, ultimately, in the whole Romantic period. And I think we still carry those ideas nowadays. The poet is the person who sees him or herself alone against the world, and they filter that world through their own spirit. That idea is the origin of these poets and the origin of this music. And it's a great contrast to the classicism. It's a great contrast to anything that happened before the French Revolution. It's the classics are all about form. That is all about order. Religion plays a huge part in music, but that of secular music, which there is a lot, of course, in the Baroque and in the classical period, it's always related to aristocracy, or always related to something bigger than you in a scale of hierarchy. The hierarchy in the Romanticism is the most humble person is probably the actual poet. So the poet can be any one of us. That's, of course, in general, not true. We all have our inclinations, and we like some things, and other people like other things. But most of us understand mostly basic ideas, basic feelings inside of any human's brain. And that's very well connected, those ideas, to the mazurkas, because each one of the mazurkas is amazingly different than the other. Each one of the mazurkas captures in a miniature way. They are really small, and they capture something essential about a moment in a routine life, or a fleeting instant of something that he saw, and he just captured it, and it can never be repeated. Thanks to his mazurkas, it can be repeated somehow. But those are the simple things in life that everyone can enjoy. We go for a walk in the park, and we see a bird, and we stop for 10 seconds. That moment that you will never repeat, because the bird will not do the same thing twice, and you will not be in the same spot as where the bird is. Those fleeting moments that are only yours and the surroundings that you have, they are the mazurkas. Those are the miniatures that Chopin tries to depict somehow. The first of the mazurkas of the Opus 63 is probably one of my favorite pieces by Chopin. I discovered it a bit more profoundly last year, and its unhinged openness, open-mindedness, and the sense that there are many people involved in this single piece of music is actually quite amazing in such a short piece. Actually, I will share with you the depiction that I have in my head of this mazurka. It can be anything, because Chopin doesn't tell us what it has to be, but it might be a good idea. I see in this mazurka a big field in the middle of... there are openings in the forest anywhere in the world, but in Poland there are these very defined places in which there is just a big field surrounded by forest. And in this field, I imagine a house, very typical Polish landscape, and behind that wooden house, a set of carps ready for, you could imagine, a wedding or a holiday party, whatever it is. And inside, maybe a couple of dozen people dancing, live music in the end. Of course, there is nothing else than live music, but then, but it's worth remembering. And just a good mood, people drinking, enjoying, not thinking what I have to do 2 hours later, just being there. The second mazurka features a distinct melancholy. It's, of course, it taps into a little bit of mazur rhythms, maybe Kujawiak, but it's more of a, once more, it's just the means. The dance is the means, not the ends, and it's a very narrative mazurka. Chopin has the ability from the mid to the end period of his life to use the piano not only to sing but to narrate. And that's the ability that he has, especially in the ballades. In some of his last nocturnes, that happens at times. It's mostly singing, though, in his nocturnes. But some of the mazurkas also have that narrative ability. Each one of the notes is not only sung somehow, but it's spoken. And in this case, the left hand, which is setting the time, as if you were hearing a clock, something like this. When you are speaking, you speak in a cadence as well. That cadence is dictated by your left hand. That cadence exists, of course, but it's more of a narration, and it's a narration to oneself, as if one were sitting at home and recalling something heavy-heartedly, what happened before that day, for example, and you end up thinking, and when you are thinking, you end up speaking something with your mouth without noticing. There is no one there. You're still thinking, and you start speaking. That kind of moment of thoughtfulness and introspection, that's something similar of what you might hear in this mazurka. And the last of the mazurkas of the set, it's probably an oberek, just because from Chopin's standards is the most light-hearted of them. Oberek can be danced more in groups, and they usually feature round-like motions in dancing. You can see around, for example, 10 people dancing oberek, all holding hands in a big circle. So it is one of the most light-hearted ones, and the rhythm of the mazurka is still there. There is always the accent on the strange place or the uncomfortable place, but it's much less obvious. It's much more flowing forward somehow. Now, before we jump to a new composer, still connected to Chopin, of course, but I want to actually remember one of my favorite recordings of the Mazurkas. I was mentioning a couple of hours ago Adam Harasiewicz's whole Mazurkas recording, but probably my favorite would be probably Barbara Hesse-Bukowska. She was a little bit lost among the turmoil of so many great musicians that came out of Chopin competition and of Poland. And she was a great pianist, and she didn't make it mainly because of the Soviet Union, but she didn't make it outside of Poland to have a great career internationally, but she definitely should have. She should have shared her music with the entire world. Anyone who is at home or here, there are the whole recordings in YouTube, so you can enjoy each one of the mazurkas. Even though the recordings are quite old, you can hear the distinct smell, the distinct color, the distinct quality or density, as if it were a material. Each one of the mazurkas has its particular substance, and that's that I love it about anything that she recorded, but especially all the mazurkas. They are really wonderful. So now, to continue with Chopin without Chopin, I want to share with all of you a piece by Federico Mompou. It's his longest piece ever written, but Mompou liked to cheat, so it is not the longest because he liked to write very miniaturistic pieces. So it is a set of variations over a theme of Chopin, which everyone will recognize. I don't even have to tell you what it is. Mompou loved to write in miniature form because he liked everything to be distilled until its absolute essence. There is not a single note in any of Mompou's pieces, and for that sake, any of his utterances or any of the videos or any of the words that you can see that he wrote on articles, there is not a single word that is out of place. And of course, taking such a care of what you say and what you do and what you leave for posterity means there is very little of his music. His entire output is 4 hours and something. It's less than 5 hours of music, and most of it is for the piano. He liked to have his relationship with the piano, even though he was not a great pianist himself. But he was not a great pianist because his hands didn't work too well. But here, that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter that his hands didn't work too well, because the most important about any great creator is what they put forth. Sometimes it doesn't even matter what they use to achieve it. And in his case, that's absolutely true. I always like to share the same anecdote of Federico Mompou because it's telling of his personality. He was quite a noble man when you met him, but he was quite stuck up, I would like to say. He was quite stiff, and he liked not to say too many words. He was extremely private person. And I actually fell in love with his music during the pandemic through his silent music, música callada, which features a dichotomy that is impossible to find a solution to that dichotomy. How can music be silent? Actually, he achieves that somehow by striping of sounds, of harmonies, of music itself, of anything that is not absolutely essential. And it results in fleeting music, like music has no time. That is achieved by great composers through other means, like Chopin. He achieves that by his great penmanship, his great ability to combine harmonies together, his ability of put form, his ideas into a very tight form. Beethoven, likewise, Mompou achieves this just by stripping whatever is not necessary, out of leaving music itself naked, and being very strong with very critical with his own activities as a musician. Now, the variations on a theme by Chopin took Mompou almost 20 years more than 20 years, less than 30 years, so almost 30 years to complete. The variations are 20 minutes long, so you can do the math. It's really little amount of notes for a very long period of time. He probably one of the most essential works of his. And these variations feature his love for Chopin. I was going to tell before the anecdote, which is about his love for Chopin, and it tells a lot about his personality too. I heard this anecdote also directly from Jan Popisz, who I mentioned before, great musicologist in Poland. He was the jury member in the Chopin competition for 1 year, and I think it was Martha Argerich's year when she won. I believe so. Maybe the previous one. Anyway, he went to the competition to serve as the jury, and before everyone was very hectic before the first contestant went on stage, the jury took place on their chairs and their tables, and he was the only person over there who was absolutely silent. He didn't have anything in front of him either to write or anything. He was just there, sitting, looking around. Everyone was hectic, giving interviews, talking with people. It was very loud in there. He was the only person who was just looking around and being silent. And someone from the organization asked him, Maestro Mompou, do you need anything? Can we help you with anything? Do you need whatever you need? Just tell us. And he thought for a minute, and his response was, yes, before I start doing this job properly, I want someone to go to the birthplace of Chopin, to Zela, and I want them to bring me a flower or a branch of a tree that is growing over there, and I want them to bring it to me. When I get it, I want to smell it. After I smell it, I think I will be ready to do my job properly. So I think that tells enough about him. It's quite a beautiful idea. he has to be there in heart, in soul, and in consciously. He wants to be closer to the most important thing of all, which is not journalists, not even the event itself, but Chopin himself. That's what he was thinking about. And that's quite beautiful. And this piece represents his love for Chopin. He was a great admirer of Chopin all his life. You can see it all through his output in the piano. He uses quite Chopinian melodies sometimes, Chopinian techniques. And of course here he uses the Chopin melody itself, so it's even more obvious. This piece was originally a ballet. He thought of it as a ballet. Someone wanted to commission it for him. There was not enough money, so no ballet. After this, it got rethought as a piece for cello and piano through the great Gaspar Casado, great cellist. Also not very well known, but great recordings of Brahms, of Beethoven sonatas. Really, really great musician. And great composer as well. He has a fantastic cello sonata. So through him, he tried to remake this piece into a cello and piano piece. Didn't work out. Once more. Nobody knows why. So after that, he rewrote the idea into a set of very few variations. It was just published under the title 3 Variations. And it was very small, and it's nothing compared to what we know now. This was in the mid-1930s, and he completed the full piece in 1957, so it's still a long way to go. So after that happened, he just did what he did best, which is take his time to compose and not listen to anyone's aim to dictate what he has to do or how he has to do it. He just did what he thought he had to do. So these variations, I will be stopping between variations, so it might be easier actually to know what I'm playing, because the language that Mompou uses is quite particular, but it's very approachable either way. And also the melody is so easy to to know what it is that it will be not a problem for anyone. A fun thing is that on the first variation, up there, he writes, it's also quite beautiful that he doesn't write his dedicatee, he doesn't write the person to whom he dedicates the piece on the cover, he just writes it on the top of the first variation. That's also a very beautiful thing, it's not so usual to see. And he dedicates this piece to Pedro Masaveu. He's not at all a famous person, but it has a special connection with me. Why? Pedro Masaveu was the sponsor of Mompou during most of his life. He gave his home to Mompou to compose and to have everything that he needed. Food, be comfortable, basically. He was the main sponsor of Mompou. And it has a connection with me because many generations down, Pedro Masaveu was a really successful banker. He loved music and he was he gave a lot of money to the arts, and he made it possible not only to Mompou but many people in Spain to have the means to do what they wanted to do with music. So many generations down, the family is still a banking family. They are all bankers. But there is a particular person called Cristina Masaveu. She is the chief of a foundation called the Masaveu Foundation. And even 5 generations down, this family keeps supporting the arts. They are great philanthropists, and they were my first sponsors too. Thanks to them, I could go to university, for example. If it weren't for them, I was not here speaking with you at all. At all. This is thanks to them. Thanks to many other people, but they have a special place in my heart because they were the first people to really believe in me and give me support. And I found out many years later that they were the same family that helped Mompou as well. And that happened after I fell in love with his music. So it was a very curious coincidence and quite a beautiful one. I'm quite surprised. So a bit about the first few variations that I will play as a clump. I will clump them together and then I will stop and I will speak about the next few variations. There are 13 in total. The first one is just a small arrangement of the main theme. Nothing too special happens there. The second variation reminds us perhaps of the rhythms or atmosphere. The motion of the music is similar to that of perhaps the second ballade. I can show you. Somewhat he uses the same rhythms, he uses the same ideas with his own language, of course, but it's quite interesting to see. And then on the third variation, he uses only the left hand. He was a left-handed person, and he liked to write. He wrote, I believe, only 3 pieces for the left hand, and this variation is one of them. And he did what he can do best, which is make the most out of a single note. It's quite amazing. And then I will clamp it together with the last of the first set of variations, the fourth one, which features actually something very typical from Mompou. He has sets of melodies or sets of groups of notes that repeat all through his music. It's like his signature. For example, Rachmaninoff could have this signature. That's his signature. Mompou's signature is and all the variations that come from these. He likes to repeat a single note to give it more dramaticism, but only in one single note, employing no other source of compositional features other than just repeating the same note very intensely. Other variations like All the variations that come from this, you can find it in most of Mompou's music. And once more, it is his signature. You can see that it's his music thanks to these two. And then I will stop and I will speak about the rest of the variations. The next few variations start with a mazurka, of all things. The only mazurka that Mompou wrote. And quite interesting. It's quite a jolly. You would not imagine a mazurka by Mompou to be so jolly, but it is quite light-hearted. I like this. It's so short. It's too short, actually. The next one after the mazurka is it's a sort of recitativo, but it's a special recitativo. There are 2 questions and 2 answers. The questions are the same as the answers, and both questions are the same too. So you could say there are 4 questions. So 4 repetitions of the same thing, which is also quite a typical feature of Mompou. He likes to repeat the same thing several times. So as I said before in the beginning of today's event, that after you repeat it several times, the music itself or the notes themselves, magically they don't lose value, but something is added to the value. Unlike words that only have meaning because we know the meaning of the words, sounds gain some strange value after repeating them several times. Of course, he repeats them in a way that is not just literally repeating the same thing, but it's very obvious that there is something there. We don't know what it is. It's abstract. It's an abstract question, but it is repeated 4 times. And then, once more in a Mompouian fashion, you can see that there is a moment of silence after these questions and answers, and there is an afterthought. That melancholic afterthought is quite profound. It's amazing that he just included it in the middle of the variations, and it could be a piece on its own. In that afterthought, he, in a very short period of time, in 30 seconds, he first, amazingly, he gives up, and then all of a sudden he burst into some kind of agony, which takes 5 seconds also, and then everything goes back to stillness in a very short period of time. Just like a human, you could not prepare sometimes when you burst into sudden pain or suddenly you cannot bear anymore what's happening to you, and suddenly you just explode. Something like this can be seen here. And also the music of Mompou and Mompou himself, imagining such a man and such a music exploding would be out of place, really. It's amazing that it happens here, particularly here. I don't think there is another moment in his entire music that this happens, but it does here. The next variation is suddenly, also 10 seconds later, a very cute piece. It's very leggero, and it's also quite funny that Mompou, not being too good of a pianist, writes such a complicated part for the right hand. It's fiendishly difficult, the right hand, and seemingly random. It's not random, of course, but very difficult. If someone wants to check his recording of his own piece, it's quite funny. He recorded his entire anthology, and he plays everything quite slowly. And in this variation, the essence of the piece, everything is there, which is the important part, but he cannot play them. He cannot. And I think it gives even more to the charm of the piece itself, that he writes there, allegro leggero. So that's all we have to know. Maybe I include one more piece, yeah. The 7th variation is, of course, it's a variation of the tema that we heard, but firstly, he kind of quotes another piece of Chopin. I will play for you like 5 seconds of the piece of Chopin and then 5 seconds of the beginning of the variation. He transforms absolutely the prelude in which he bases the idea of this variation, and he transforms it into a piece that almost has no notes. There is almost nothing on the score. Sometimes there are like 2, 3, 4 notes at one time being played very slowly, and he transforms the prelude into a completely fleeting moment, as if you were in paradise, something like this. It's quite amazing. I play 5 seconds and 5 seconds, so you get the connection. And now the last set of variations. The next is a waltz. Also in a very Chopinian fashion. He makes a refrain. He repeats the refrain 3 times, and he makes 2 distinct contrasting parts in the middle. Very Chopinian, also very typical for a Viennese waltz. Great music. Nothing else to say. The next piece is the only one in the set of variations, apart from the last one, which has a title. And the title is Evocación in Spanish, which means to evoke something. We don't know what he wants to evoke. That tells us not too much. Evocación doesn't really tell us much. He could just not have written anything, and it would be as wonderful, but he chose to write that Evocación. It is perhaps because he directly quotes 2 different pieces altogether. One of them is his own piece, one of his canciones y danzas, the number 6. One of the few canciones y danzas that are actually his own. He doesn't draw any material from folk sources, but he just made that music by himself. And he quotes his own canción y danza, which is this. So he mostly directly quotes this. And in the middle part, in sort of a prayer or moment of absolute devotion, he quotes a piece by Chopin. I'm not going to tell you because it's famous enough that you might recognize it. It's a great moment in these variations because most people around the world know this tune, so it is a great moment to play it in front of any audience, anywhere. The next variation is I would say strangest for most people. It's not strange to me because I have become accustomed to late Mompou language, but it was the last variation to be composed in this set of variations, and it uses information that Mompou didn't have in the 30s and 40s, and he only developed that in the 1950s with his Música Callada. So there are new kinds of harmonies that he uses. Once more, he distills it so well, and the ideas are so clearly understood that there is no problem for anyone to understand it. It's very very clean to hear, very easy to understand too. And then the last variation is again a lie. It's not one variation, it's 2 pieces together. It's called the Galop and Epilogue. The Galop is, as it says, a galop, and it's also a quite nice way to end the whole set of variations in a quite exciting way. But of course, it's Mompou. He has to end things in the air. He cannot let everyone just have a brilliant ending. So the ending is actually the so-called epilogue. I would call it another variation. He doesn't call it a variation probably because he thinks of it as the aria or the main thema, such as in Bach's Goldberg variations, that the last variation is not a variation, it's just a quote from the thema. The thema comes back. In this case, the thema does come back in the upper section of the piano as the melody, but the rest is completely rearranged. He makes the quite notoriously elegant, quiet, tranquil theme, quite Italian in many ways, of the original theme of the prelude. He makes it into an absolutely different place, not even on the same planet, but on another planet. How does he do that with so very few resources? We can only ask Mompou. He's not with us, so we will never know. Well, now we are close to the 2 hours. We have been here for a long time, but I really appreciate you stay with me, and I really enjoy this setting, as I said in the beginning, so I'm really grateful to you. Now, bear with me, because in 10 minutes we'll breathe fresh air, and everyone at home, well, you can also breathe fresh air if you want. But I want to read to you a poem by Mickiewicz, as I mentioned before. A poem called Romanticism. It's the first poem that opens the cycle called Ballade and Romances. And once more, I repeat that it opens the Polish Romantic period, and probably inspires Chopin to compose his ballads. He said in generic terms to Schumann in a visit in 1836, they met, Chopin was 26, and Schumann was the same age. And they were both up-and-coming great musicians. They were already quite well known all around Europe. Such an early age, it's quite amazing. And in that meeting, we don't have much information other than what Schumann tells that happened over there. Chopin didn't tell anyone, sadly. But Schumann says that a very special piece for both Schumann and Chopin was the first ballad, the G minor ballad. That piece it was important for Schumann because it represented the ideals that Schumann was trying to convey to the entire of Germany, and in general the entire continent of Europe. He called the musicians of his time of the previous years too bad musicians, or people who wanted just to keep what they thought it was good music, and for him it was just abhorrent, really abhorrent music. I don't know if he was right, but probably yeah. Probably yes, he was right. And that piece represented for both of them basically a new style and a new way of seeing music altogether. Basically breaking form from classical music, breaking that stagnated idea that everything has to be done in a certain way. And they thought that it can be done in another way, to put it in short words. This poem is quite difficult in English to comprehend, so please, everyone at home, just open a new tab on your computer. And everyone here, just afterwards, if you have energy. I wouldn't, but if you have energy, please check. If not, tomorrow or later, please do it, because it's a absolutely amazing poem that many people in Poland have to read this as a mandatory reading for high school, but in general, nobody knows too much. They know the name of Adam Mickiewicz as the great composer, a poet who was born in Vilnius, but not much more. And it's, I don't want to say too much, just amazing. This poem might take, 3-4 minutes? And it condenses in a very short space of time the romantic soul, or the idea of the romantic artist, and the idea that what one sees from their own eye, or what one perceives from the world from a personal point of view, has perhaps more value than the point of view that everything can be measured scientifically. It's a very, very interesting, very interesting idea, and it's probably what we all think about ourselves and about the society in general. We think in this way. We think that our ideas, our feelings, our values, our talents have a lot of value. They are not the center of the universe, like these people thought, but these people did this because they had a counterbalance to think this way. They could go to the extremes to meet in the middle. We don't have any more that extreme, so we can be a little bit more balanced, thankfully. But it's thanks to these people. So I will take the 3 minutes perhaps that it takes to read it slowly. Please check it afterwards, because it's a strange English for those not well versed in a bit older English. So bear with me. Listen, maiden, listen. She doth not hear. It is broad daylight. Yonder lies the town. There's no one by thee. No one draweth near. On whom then dost thou call a blessing down? What phantom clasp'st thou? Why do thine eyes, she doth not hear, glisten? She, like a lifeless stone, doth not remove her gaze. Her eyes are fixed, dilated, in a maze. Then, bursting into tears, with tender moan, someone she seems to draw with saddest, she weeps and smiles, whiles. Art thou here, Yasiol, here in this dark night? My lover, even after death. Oh, hither, hither, but with footsteps light. Their steps, mother, so speak with bated breath. And if she hears us, no, there is no more. Already in the tomb. Is she already dead? I'm sore afraid. Oh, why, my Yasiol, why I feel such gloom? 'Tis thou, thy lips, thine eyes, so why dismayed? And thy white robe, which thou didst wear of yore. As wan and pallid as thy shroud art thou, and oh, how cold thy hands, how icy cold. Oh, warm them here, my bosom warm enfold, and press thy lips to mine, as thou dost now. How cold the tomb is, yet its rest I crave. Thou hast been dead 2 years, and lo, we meet. Oh, take me, for within death were sweet. The world I love not, let me share thy grave. 'Tis ill for me to dwell mid vile mankind. I weep, and they but jeer, the heartless band. I speak, and nobody doth understand. I see, and oh my God, their eyes are blind. Oh, must thou leave me, Yasiol? Do we dream? Ah, no, we are close embraced, and with heart on heart. And yet this very moment we must part. Our greatest joys are fleetest. They but gleam. Oh God, the cock crows, and the day is begun. Yet it is early, Yasiol. Stay a while. Oh, stay, beloved. Cheer me with thy smile. Oh, stay and bless thy most unhappy one. 'Tis thus the maiden for her lover wails. She runs to meet him. Oh, she shrieks. She falls. And at her sudden cries, her love's wild calls. The people weep, and utmost grief prevails. Oh, say thy prayers, the simple people cried. The soul of Yasio surely should be here. Yasio should be with his Carusha dear. On earth he loved, he loves, though he has died. And I listen humbly and obey. I weep, and then I kneel, and, silent, pray. Hearken, young maiden, then an old man said, and you as well. Then to the crowd he cried, Oh, in my eyes and spectacles confide, I see not anything around this maid. Spirits are the gaping crowd's invention, chimeras formed and forged by doting fools, and gaping crowds like these their fitting tools. The people hear her nonsense with attention. This girl feels deeply, humbly I reply, and full of faith is all this gaping crowd. And to me, faith and feeling speak more loud than doctor's glasses or the doctor's eye. Thou knowest the dead truths hid from common men. Thou seest the earth in atoms, atoms. Earth. But living truths and miracles rouse thy mirth. Oh, have a heart, and to it turn thy ken. Probably I want to repeat once more the most important part of this poem, which is it explains the maiden is just seeing something that is completely unreal. She's seeing a spirit, much like in many other post-romantic, romantic pieces, much like in Schubert, for example, in Winterreise. There are spirits, there are things that are otherworldly, and those otherworldly experiences, things, you could call them things, those otherworldly things come in form of a person or visions to help the main actor, the main character of the, in this case, the poem, but any narrative form, especially in the ballads, this is the case. And that supernatural helps the common man or the common woman. It helps them with their lives or their daily routines, and something routinely becomes transcendent, becomes more important than what other people might think. That experience, that personal experience, becomes more worthy of attention than anything else. That idea, that is, once more I will repeat that strophe. And to me, faith and feeling speak more loud than doctor's glasses or the doctor's eye. In a sense, they can say that because they have plenty of doctor's eye. To be concrete, not only Mickiewicz, he knew extremely well, for example, the language. He had an absolute incredible insight into human experience, and he could put it into words. That's a very particular talent that almost no one has in the world. I don't have that talent, for sure. It is something very particular, but from their perspective, they can say that because they want to bring attention to more common things, things that everyone, absolutely everyone in the world understands. And from this comes what I want to finish the concert today with, which is Chopin's fourth ballade. For the fourth ballade, you could do a series of lectures only on one piece. I'm sure that someone like one of the greatest musicologists in Poland, Artur Szklener, the director of Chopin Institute, he could do a series of lectures only on this piece. There is too much insight in the music composed by Chopin, but especially in the ballades. Shortly, what do the ballades mean? Chopin didn't want, once more, any words or any ideas attached to the idea of the ballad or what he wanted to say with the ballad. That's a very romantic idea in a sense also. People think that there is programmatic music in the Romantic era, music that depicts something concrete, something physical. Most composers, for example Liszt, or you could say Wagner or Chopin might fall in that category perhaps, 50-50. All of them, even though they might put concrete names to their music, those concrete names are by words of the actual composer. For example, Liszt, they are just mere inspirations, or they are trying to let everyone know what is it that inspired me, or what can inspire you to understand what I am saying. So it's more like producing a setting and not the actual action itself, but only the setting. So you feel like you are in the action, but they don't explain the action. In this case, it is programmatic in the sense that the narration all through the four of the ballades, the narration leads to, in all of them except the third one, but in all of them it reaches its climax in the end. And that climax is, in the third ballad, is an absolute victory, the victory, typical victory of an epic hero. But in the other three ballads, especially in the fourth one, it is the complete demise of the hero. It's quite hopeless. And just like in Mickiewicz ballades in general, the climax comes at the end. In the end, everything is explained. Even in this poem, the end tells you what is happening before. Before is just a preparation, it's just like a warming up. Warming up takes a very long time, especially in Chopin's ballad. It takes as long as the ballades until it reaches the coda. Now in the fourth ballad, that climax, the whole meaning of the ballad is in the actual coda and the preparation for the last minute or so of the piece. It is actually without precedent, this piece, and probably there is nothing like this more until modern times, in which he ties together in a very both Baroque, classical, and romantic way how he treats the themes, how he treats the music itself. He treats it in both, not both, but three of those styles. He uses Baroque polyphony inside of the ballad. He uses classical form, as in variations of the theme. He puts all of that in such a tight structure. It's absolutely unbelievable. And all that tight structure ends quite symbolically, ends in the coda, and the coda has no structure. It's just like a complete stream of agony, I would say. There is absolute agony, and the whole of the ballad ends in absolute defeat or catastrophe, as it is also the case for most of Mickiewicz ballads. And another good example I like to put is Goethe's book. For example, in Faust you can see it, but many of romantic writers have the same idea, that in the end there is absolute defeat. There is always room for understanding what does that defeat mean, and it's not devoid of hope, but it is defeat nonetheless. So after this defeat, we are done for today. So thank you so much for staying with me. I know it's a long night. Thank you.